There are so many watches within the range of the Wise watches that grab my attention. And they grabbed my attention ever since I first saw a review of one from another Australian YouTuber. And he said a lot of positive things about these watches, and I completely bought into the idea of them being beautiful and well made and appropriately priced, or in fact even somewhat low priced for the quality that they are. But I was really struggling to pick which within the range that I would like to own for myself, because I actually liked a number of their models. And then I saw a new release from them, the Wise Asura, and I instantly thought, that is incredible. Not only the looks of it, the design of it, the movement choice used, as well as the overall dimensions of it. And I then had the thought that I think this Asura might be an achievably priced mini grail for myself. But now that I've owned this watch for almost a year, I now ask myself the question, has it turned out to be everything that I wanted from it? Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches. And if I was to try and design a watch for myself in regards to some of the styles and the elements of watches that I like, then I think this Wise Asura is something that I could almost come up with myself. I love this general layout of design of watch. It's not exactly a unique layout with how the numbers are, with the sub-second there, but this one is done in a non-traditional way. It's introducing details and techniques and elements and levels and colors and design elements that I really like. So it's like a reimagination of a classic design, and that sounds absolutely perfect for me. And that is what first drew me to this specific watch. But it then became a choice of, do I want the red version or the grey version? Because there are two different variations. Now, both of these do actually sell on their website for $990 US. They both have 100 meters of water resistance. They are made from 904 stainless steel, have a double dome sapphire crystal, are powered by the automatic Swiss Sleater SW261-1, and they come in what I'm going to describe as the best packaging I've ever seen for a watch. But they are a pre-order watch. They were when I purchased mine, and they still seem to be now. So perhaps it's not something they keep in stock. It's more about they take some pre-orders, and when they get enough, then they produce them in a batch. Now, when I ordered mine, it took about 3 to 4 months for it to finally arrive. And when it did arrive, I put it on wrist, and then I felt that the dimensions of the watch felt good. They were what I was expecting, because the case of this one is 40.1. The height is 12.3 millimeters. The lug to lug is 47 millimeters. It has a 20 millimeter lug width, and a weight on one of the straps that is provided is 87.5 grams. And that translates onto my 17 centimeter wrist as a really lovely size. It also curves down and fits down onto my wrist really nicely. And the straps that come with it, especially the rubber strap, which I feel that is a little bit of a strange choice for this design. However, it integrates into that case so nicely that it then integrates around your wrist really well too. But it is the dial that really captured my attention initially, and it's what I want to dive into now, because this red dial, it is not only is it a 3D effect, but it has almost two sort of elements to the color. It plays with the light in an interesting way. There is printing on top of it in white, but there are other elements that appear to be molded into the dial, those numbers and those dashes, but those applied, or at least those molded numbers, then have a brushed silver surface on top. And if you look closely between the numbers at those little dashes, in between that sort of brushed silver look, there's a little bit of the color, that red color. So it translates nicely into the design. There are different elements to the dial, but then they all work together. And then they have some of the best set of hands I've ever seen. I'd never seen this specific design of hand before, but they're gorgeous. I think they look absolutely brilliant, and I think they suit this design really well. And when you turn the lights off, well, the lume is particularly good as well. It is a sort of everyday sportsy dress watch, so I'm not expecting it to have as much lume as a diver, but the lume that it does have is very good. Now, I mentioned that the case in this one and some of the other cases within the brand are not 916 stainless steel. These are 904 stainless steel, which is very similar to what Rolex uses. I believe Rolex have their own unique specific recipe for steel that they use, but it is a similar design. What surprises me is that I haven't noticed any difference. I wear this watch and I don't think, wow, that stainless steel is more interesting or better or shinier or more comfortable. Not at all. There appears to be no real difference when I'm wearing it. Even when I put it side by side with my other watches, there's not a significant difference. So although it's kind of a nice idea, I think in reality, perhaps it's just a nice idea versus what's actually on your wrist. What I do like a lot about this one is the movement choice, because a lot of the watches that are being produced in the more affordable realm and even in the slightly less affordable realm utilize some of the movements which I'd prefer not to use. However, they have to, because there's not that many options available that utilize that sub-second spot down at the base of that dial at the 6 o'clock. But this one is one of the best in this price category, the Sellita SW261-1, which of course is a Swiss-made movement that also has hacking and hand winding. And that is controlled by that unguarded screw-down crown, and you can see that movement through the back of this case. Now, looking at this movement, thinking about the thickness of this movement, thinking about the screw-down nature of that crown, it does make me wonder, perhaps I would have preferred to see a manual wind movement without a screw-down crown. However, it does make it a more of a sports watch, something that can be worn a little bit more daily by what the decisions that they've chosen to do with this model. However, it is one of the things that, as I've been wearing this watch, I have been considering, thinking, maybe a non-screw-down crown with a manual movement, which would have allowed it to be a touch thinner, might have been something that I preferred. But I have enjoyed this watch as it stands with the automatic, and I've enjoyed the automatic nature of it, because when this watch did first arrive, I started wearing this one a lot. I wore this one as my daily for quite some time. And I did that because it's a gorgeous looking watch that is very, very comfortable on wrist. But I did notice one thing. Over the past 6 months or so, that honeymoon period has dissolved, it has gone away, and this watch has started to spend more and more time in my watch box. And that is a little bit disappointing, but I am starting to realize that about myself. It's not the watch, it's me. Some watches I connect with and then they remain long term. Others, like this one, I have a brief love affair with. I enjoy it, I love it, I wear it, I appreciate it. But then it slowly gets to the point where it's probably going to leave my collection. And this one, it's probably going to leave my collection. And I almost feel guilty about that, because this particular watch I thought about so much. I researched, I desired, I wanted, I then waited in the pre-order period. And I was so excited when it did arrive. But I'm starting to get to the point where I don't need to feel guilty about that. I enjoyed it, I loved it. And when I am ready, I will put this one up for sale. But I will have some lovely memories about it because it is such a nice watch. Thanks for watching. Here's a couple other videos I've made. They're also about watches.